Dearest Father, I know you didn't want me to follow in your footsteps, but I can't stand by while you suffer under the weight of those debts. You've given so much to protect our family, but the time has come for me to take on the burden. I remember the stories you told me about the Crown of Barenziah, how you nearly had it in your grasp before those mercenaries turned on you. I know how much you sacrificed in that pursuit, and I know how it cost you everything. Your fortune, your health, and nearly your life. You never wanted me to go after it, but that crown is still out there, Father, and I have a lead. I've heard that in Skyrim, deep within the rift, there is a thieves' guild that may hold the key to the crown's whereabouts. They know things that most in the Empire have long forgotten. I believe they have the information you never managed to uncover. I know how dangerous this is, but I'm willing to risk it. This could be our last chance to free ourselves from the chains those debtors have wrapped around us. I'm going north, crossing into Skyrim as you once did. But this time, I'll succeed where you couldn't. I intend to join the Thieves Guild, gain their trust, and find what you started searching for all those years ago. Don't worry about me. You taught me well. I know how to survive. And I know the risks. This is bigger than either of us now. I will bring back the crown, and the fortune that comes with it. And we'll be free of this curse of debt, once and for all. Stay strong, Father, and trust that I'll finish what you began. Your son, Dar'Kesh. I left elsewhere a little over a month ago, and the weight of that decision still hasn't fully settled. The heat, the dunes, the endless skies of my homeland. They feel like a distant memory now. But I had no choice. When your family is buried under debt, you do what you must, even if it means leaving everything behind. Getting through Cyrodiil wasn't easy. The Imperial patrols are everywhere, and the roads are watched, but I've always been good at staying out of sight when I need to. Luck was with me when I crossed paths with a trader named Cassius. He had a cart full of goods, heading north, and was more than willing to let a quote-unquote traveler down on his luck hide beneath his wares for a few coin. I kept my head down while he talked his way through checkpoints, and before long, we were well past the prying eyes of the Empire. We parted ways in Bruma. From there, the border to Skyrim was close, but crossing it would be dangerous. I decided to go it alone. The wilderness was harsh, but safer than the cities. I kept to the woods, moving by night, avoiding any campfires or signs of life. The Gerald Mountains were just as treacherous. It was almost as if Skyrim was testing me, daring me to turn back. The cold here is different, sharper, like it cuts through the bone. But the land itself, it's beautiful in a way, rugged, wild, and full of promise. I eventually came across a fort seemingly in the middle of nowhere. I didn't know its name at the time, Newgrad, I think they call it now, but I didn't care about names. All I knew was the wind was whipping through my fur, and I was desperate for a place to rest. My feet were sore, my body aching, and the promise of shelter drew me in like a moth to flame. I approached the gate cautiously, calling out for help. "Hello? Anybody here?" I told them I was a traveler, looking for nothing more than a warm fire and a bit of food. "I am a traveler, looking for nothing more than a warm fire and a bit of food." At first, I thought they might offer me a bed for the night, but as soon as I stepped inside, I felt their eyes on me. Turns out, the fort was full of bandits. And of course I did what any brave Khajiit would do in my situation. Run. I quickly went back through the gates and sprinted down the road hoping they would allow me to turn tail. Literally. They gave chase, but I'm faster than most. I lost them by quickly cutting through a patch of forest, darting between trees and using the terrain to my advantage. By the time I stopped running, the fort was far behind, and my heart was pounding. Damn those bandits. Note to self, don't go walking into forts uninvited. A few hours later, luck turned in my favor. I came across a camp of soldiers, Stormcloaks. I carefully approached their camp, and this encounter went very differently. They didn't draw weapons or demand anything from me. Instead, they offered me a seat by the fire. I was hesitant, of course. Soldiers are no different than anyone else when it comes to survival, but the warmth of the flames was too much to resist. I spun a story for them, something about a sick relative in Riften, to explain why I was traveling to Skyrim. I wasn't sure if they believed me, but they didn't ask too many questions or seem to really care. They were too busy telling stories of their own, of battles fought against the Legion, of hardships endured in the name of their cause. I stayed quiet mostly, listening to their tales while I warmed myself by the fire. One of the soldiers, their quartermaster, even let me take some supplies from a chest in a tent. She said I could help myself to whatever I needed, though I didn't take much. I had little coin and even fewer supplies to trade, so I wasn't about to overstay my welcome. I did eye a steel dagger at her side, thinking it might come in handy, but there were too many eyes on me to risk anything. The commander of the camp, a man named Thoric's Sunkiller, spoke with me about the war.
We fight to make our land great once more, to raise up strong, noble thanes, and lay low false jarls and the cowards who hide behind them. The sound of our fury is a storm about to break on the heads of our enemies. Our friendship, a cloak of true brotherhood for all who would wear it.
He also showed me the path on his map, pointing out the safest roads and warning me about Imperial patrols. I thanked him and kept my distance, not wanting to become involved in a war that wasn't mine. That night, I ate the fruit they offered me and slept in an empty tent. The cold wasn't so bad with the fire nearby, and for the first time since I crossed the border, I felt almost at ease. But Skyrim doesn't let anyone rest for long. This morning, a blizzard rolled in, trapped me at the camp for another day. I can't help but feel the weight of it pressing down on me. As I sit by the fire, the Stormcloak swapping stories around me, my mind wanders. What am I doing here? Skyrim, in the middle of a civil war. Is this really the right time to be chasing an old myth like the Crown of Barenziah? To them, the fight against the Empire is everything, a battle for their freedom, their very way of life. But I'm no soldier, and this isn't my fight. Still, it's hard not to wonder if this war will come crashing into my plans. If the wrong person catches wind of why I'm here, well, what I'm after. It won't matter if they're Stormcloak or Imperial. Gold changes hands easily, and both sides could use it to fund their cause. And then there's the fact that I'm not even supposed to be in Skyrim. Crossing the border the way that I did. It's no secret that would be enough to land me in a dungeon or worse, especially with tensions this high. Maybe I should have waited, bided my time back in elsewhere until this war had settled. But no. The Crown's here in Skyrim. I can't let that slip away. Not with my family's death hanging over us like a shadow. The Crown is my only hope. My father's only hope. The storm had finally cleared, and it was time for me to move on. I of course thanked the soldiers for their hospitality before heading out. Thank you again, my friends. Oh, and my compliments to the chef. Honestly, like the best skeever I've had in a long time. No joke. Riften wasn't far now, and neither was the start of my real journey. After parting ways with the Stormcloaks, I found myself alone once again, making my way through the hills, where I came across a woman who was seemingly patrolling the entrance of a cave. I crouched low on the ridge above the path, watching her movements carefully, as I wasn't sure if she'd attack me on sight. I stayed quiet and did my best to remain hidden. A rabbit approached her, and she immediately took it out with an arrow. I do find it odd that she didn't at least retrieve it for the meat. Eventually, 3 more figures came into view. Elves, but not just any elves. There was something sinister about them. Their long flowing robes were rich and black, trimmed with golden embroidery that shimmered in the light. There was a cold precision in their movements, and their presence was unsettling. I kept low, watching as the elves continued on up the path in my direction. I didn't want to have a confrontation with any of these individuals. I waited till I was nearly out of their line of sight, and then climbed over the edge of the rocks, traversing down the steep hill. I did my best to stay silent, as I didn't want to alert them. The rabbit was still lying there, its blood staining the dirt. I took my knife and cut off some of the meat. I wasn't about to let this go to waste. The cave the woman was patrolling loomed nearby, dark and foreboding. For a moment, I did consider entering. What was inside? Treasure? Bandits? Something worse? I could feel the pool of curiosity gnawing at me, daring me to step into the unknown. I mean, sure, I could probably come away with some valuable gems and supplies, but with my luck, I'd eventually be overpowered and end up with a blade through my belly. No thanks. I'll pass. As I followed the road, tucked between the trees, I stumbled upon a small shack. From the looks of it, an alchemist had made it their home. The place was quiet, almost abandoned, but there were signs of life. Plants growing in neat rows, items carefully laid out. Whoever lived here had an affinity for nature, no doubt. Inside the shack, I found a letter. The alchemist, it seemed, had been training a rabbit. Yes, a rabbit, to sniff out rare potion ingredients. The creature had even been given a name, Thistle. I chuckled at the idea of a rabbit serving as an alchemist's assistant, but the letter spoke highly of Thistle's intelligence, almost unnervingly so. It seemed that with enough carrots, this rabbit would do just about anything. Curious, I stepped into the alchemist's yard, and sure enough, there was Thistle, eyeing the carrots that had been stored away in a small wooden box. I crouched down, taking one of the carrots out, and offered it to the little furball. Now, Thistle hopped over immediately, and I half expected it to bolt after taking the food, but instead, it stared at me, as though waiting for instructions. Testing my luck, I told Thistle to meet me in Riften, wondering if it understood. And to my surprise, the rabbit scampered off down the path, heading straight toward the city. Skyrim continues to surprise me at every turn. I guess I'll have to catch up with the little one later. And of course, before leaving the shack, I helped myself to some supplies. Come on, do you think I wasn't going to? As I continued my journey, I was attacked several times by packs of vicious wolves, who I had no choice but to eliminate. But also, I just don't like dogs. Never have been a fan. Every one of them I downed. I took their pelt with me, hoping I could use it for trade or a means to keep warm. I guess they're good for something. A group of men lounging by the side of the road called out to me. At first I was wary. No one stops travelers on the road for no reason, but their tone was friendly enough. One of them even handed me a bottle of honey brew mead, saying it was something every newcomer to Skyrim should try.
You've never had a taste of sweet honey brew? Why, it's only the finest mead outside of Sovngarde. Its sweetness is like a fair maiden's kiss on a starry night. And it's got enough kick to put a frost troll on his hind quarters.
I took a swig, the warmth spreading through my body. It wasn't bad. I'm not much of a hops guy. 6 out of 10. I had planned on finishing the beverage with the rest of his crew, but they immediately took off down the road, as if they suddenly had somewhere else to be. Ugh, I'll never understand these northern customs.
Leave me alone. I don't have time for this foolishness. Now come along quietly and we won't have to get rough.
As I walked on, I came across a strange scene. 2 men, clearly warriors of some sort, were questioning a woman. They wouldn't let her leave until they were satisfied with her answers. I kept my distance, but I overheard them talking about a scar, a specific mark they were looking for. When they finally decided she didn't have it, they let her go. After they left, I approached the men and asked them what they were after. Turns out they were Alakir, searching for a Redguard woman who's apparently hiding in Whiterun. They didn't give me much else to go on, but I made a note. If I find myself in Whiterun, perhaps this could be a way to make some coin. I've got debts to pay, and if they're offering a bounty, well, I won't turn it down. The road to Riften was growing shorter, but my path took an unexpected turn when I noticed a set of large stones to my right. One of them, in particular, was shaped like a bird's head at the top. They seemed to be leading somewhere, perhaps to an ancient ruin. My curiosity got the better of me, and I followed the stones, stepping off the road and into the wilds once again. The stones led to a small camp nestled next to a cave entrance. A fire pit still ablaze suggested that someone was still here. And sure enough, I found a journal. It belonged to someone named Medresi Dran, and it spoke of a place called Angarvund, a hidden temple that was said to hold immense treasure. Medresi was determined to uncover it, hiring a team of miners to help with the excavation. The way she wrote about the place, the excitement in her words, it stirred something in me. If the treasures in Angarvund were half as valuable as she believed, I might not need to find the Crown of Barenziah at all. I could pay off my father's debts with one haul. Maybe even return to elsewhere in triumph. Oh, the temptation was too strong to resist. I've decided to sneak into the cave and see what I can find before Medresi and her team arrive. If there is in fact treasure hidden within these ancient ruins, then I intend to be the first one to claim it. May the gods be with me.